All right there, folks. So, no battle report in this one. This is just going to be, this is something new I kind of thought I would do, which is just do a campaign map update so you can kind of see how the battles have fit into the larger strategic picture. So, I'm going to start with the strategic overview. Right, we're about a year into the Spring 61 campaign. The fighting broke out in April of 61, so it's April of 62. Initially, I think I was behind on most all of these, but we're definitely ahead in national morale. National support, we are ahead in morale of armies is lower, I think, only because so many of our armies are in CSA territory, so they take a morale hit for that. Loyal states, we're still holding on. Men fielded, until about a month ago, I was ahead or even, and so the CSA has dramatically pulled ahead in that regard, and so I'm going to have to do some catch up here in the next few months. I've gone pretty hard for the Navy in this one, which is an unusual campaign thing for me to do, but I'll show you how that's panned out later. Military experience, that's not a bad edge early on. We'll continue to try to build that up. Battles won has been a decidedly one-sided affair. Total casualties kind of explains it. I mean, it's more than 4-1 over the course of many battles, and if you watch the last one at New Market, I mean, you saw it, you know what it was. Weapons industry was actually much closer for most of this campaign than what we see now, but we have pulled ahead there. Next up is the finances and kind of next up is going to be the policies, and it makes more sense to talk about these first rather than talk about the economy. When this isn't up, I was getting a reminder that I needed to research some policies, but apparently it won't do that on cue. Anyways, Underground or Union Pacific, I think is a pretty good one. Indian Wars is kind of meh. Support abolitionism is okay in terms of policy. So these are not the three worst for the Union, but I just wanted to try different things. Native Allies, King Cotton, Old Dominion for them isn't too bad. It's not too great either. But I initially went pretty hard for Military 1, up to 12-month enlistments. Then I think I did Industry 1, then probably these other two enlistments, Industry 2, Government Funding 1, probably Military 2, and then Government Funding 2. And I don't know. I guess there are a few acts I could consider. Maybe the Tariff Act, if I wanted to. The letters of marque at this point don't really matter too much. It doesn't. The penalties don't matter that much to me, so I might do that one. Legal blockade is okay. I'm not thrilled with the trade with Europe going down for economic reasons, which you'll see. That one's not bad. So maybe I'll do that one. Emancipation is not. I thought there would be more serious downsides to this, but we get support and they get morale, and relations with Europe improve. And most of the other things I do are going to sour relations with Europe. So that one's actually not too bad. Confiscation, I don't like it. The cost seems extremely high. I intend to kind of play this out a bit slow, and so giving +3 support annually to Confederate states for better supply efficiency, I'm not too sure about that one. In general, I don't like print notes 1, 2, or war bonds because they all decrease public wealth, and it's very hard to get back. Revenue Act is the only one that I might think about in that level, or in that policy branch right now. The support -1 is not a big deal for the tax level, but I'm concerned the economy is under some strain, so I'll turn to that now and show you, and I'll just tell you how the CSA has done things, though I can't see theirs. They have researched through to breadbasket, or it's King Cotton 3 for them, and they are up through 36-month enlistments, and they have gone to bounties and introduced conscription, and so they're going very hard to get their numbers up and to get the agriculture going. So that's what I'm faced with. Now, on the economy side of things, so of course, before I started this video, this is kind of what I remembered seeing. Now things have just shot up, and so things really actually are recovering, but the economy seemed to be on a kind of general downtrend, because this is what I've been looking at this area here the last few months. And so I kind of felt like we had peaked and we were kind of just going nowhere, we were going down. The last campaign, if you watch that concluding video, the game ended in depression for both sides. But that was in 1864. So there's that. But the reason why I didn't want to introduce new taxes is because I'm still not sure how the economy is gonna fare going forward. Wealth is already not great. I mean, this is really hard to believe, but I guess it's the way it's reported. Uh, our public wealth, and these are really small differences, right? You got to keep your right hand. You got to keep your numbers clear here. So we're not talking about huge drops, but we're at the same level as the CSA, which is a little hard to believe. National debt for them, I'm surprised given their big buildup that it's not much higher. But hey, good for them. Ours isn't bad. Interest rate is very reasonable for a year into the war. It's not that bad at all. Credit rating is fine. We don't need to worry about money. On the expense side, you can see supply depots are not unreasonable as they have sometimes felt in the past. Army upkeep, for the size of the army, that all seems all right. Revenues are what they are. I think sales tax has gone up. Yeah, this has gone up quite a bit. Huh. Well, I should have researched that before I started the video, but it's an amateur production. You can see the tariffs were actually 25 to 30 million is nothing to sneeze at, and land sales look like they've been pretty flat. And yeah, our revenues overall have fluctuated a bit. I still don't like how connected and how similar the two economies are, but that's me. Quick note about railroads. So we finished, and I did not mark them, we finished 2 lines, and where is that third? There is a third one. I believe it's Missouri and Ohio. If you see it, shout it out. I won't hear you because this is a video recording, but yeah, you'll probably scare somebody in your next room. But there is somewhere. It doesn't. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. So it's 93% done. So this is a year in, and we have almost 3 lines complete. So that might give you some idea of, with the Union Pacific perk, it seems like we're getting a line produced almost every 4 months or so. But I also made a mistake, and I had the last 2 lines proceeding together because I thought one was on. It doesn't matter. But anyways, railroads are coming along, and I'll keep doing the one at a time thing, but focused on that. The other update, this is not what we want to see, is the OOB. So the order of battle stuff I've actually paid attention to in this campaign just because something I don't normally do, so I did in this one. Basically, what we have are 3 armies. We have Sherman being in charge of the Army of New England. He just had stats that were pretty much better than most of the other options, except for this guy that I have in charge out west who I'd never heard about. Yeah, I didn't love putting. I mean, I don't know how this guy is both here as Major General, but he also shows up here as the Commanding General of the Union armies when he's subordinate to Sherman in one of the 3 armies. Don't ask questions. I don't. But what I've done is I've tried to align at least. So I did my usual divisions by branch, which some people don't like, but it's the way I play. And I have the person from that branch leading each of the divisions. So far, this has been, I mean, it's worked. It's okay. I don't really have too much in the way of complaints about it. But that's the Army of New England. Yeah. So I honestly don't know anything about John Wool, but I came across these statistics and I said, "What on earth?" I've never heard of this guy. And so we got the veteran tag, we got the fame tag, don't know how, volunteer. I mean, he's a veteran of the War of 1812. I didn't realize that until now, but yeah, he's been a captain since 1812. Holy, so he is probably much older than he appears in that portrait. In that portrait, I thought it was like 45, 50 or something like that, but I don't I don't think that math aligns. All right, so that explains quite a bit, but there are some other old guys. This guy definitely looks his age. There's Father Christmas himself, and he doesn't really have the statistics to support it. But there's the Army of the West, and then the so-called Army of Kentucky is really the Army of the Center, and yeah, done the rest there. Everybody, I think, has. I'm probably now going to click on like the one unit that doesn't, but I've gotten everybody at least Springfield rifle muskets. One of the other things I was trying to do in this campaign. Let's play a little more thematic. So you'll see the exceptions, I think. Is it Mansfield's army? Yeah, so this was probably the original army of the West. And so what I was doing was reminding them of the East Coast bias by giving them kind of the worst weapons, the plains rifle, the Hall. Not worse, but they weren't standards. They were considered obsolete, at least according to the game. And they were stuck with 6 pounders. Oops, they're still stuck with 6 pounders. So yeah, all the good stuff is going to the east and the center, and then if there are any leftovers, we're giving them to the army of the West out here. But that's the OOB stuff and the armies themselves. So this is wool. It must be really old now I think about it. Anyways, so we have Mansfield there. That is a fort. That is the army. Oh, it's the army of the Mississippi. And so those are his two over here. I believe this is this is the headquarters. So that's Harney. And there's one army. This should be McClellan, and I believe this is the newest army, which now has Patterson in charge. And so those three armies are going to kind of fan out. The CSA is really concentrated. I don't even think you can see the fourth army. I think there's one at Nashville. Oh, they've disappeared. That's not good. But I have a feeling that there are big numbers here. And over here, Sherman, I accidentally created him in Massachusetts. So he's taking his sweet time getting down here. The AI seems to be doing this thing where they don't really care about what happens in the east, and everything is about the center for them. And so I'm pretty sure these armies can just walk right down and into Richmond. I am trying to slow play the campaign, but I might do it. All right, that is that kind of stuff. And then we have the seldom used Navy. And just a tip. So the flying flotilla is here, and it's blocking all these ports. Previously, it was right here, and it was not blocking this port, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, which is now half blocked. And so is this one. So just by positioning the fleet carefully, it was able to block that, and I guess presumably block this one too somehow. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, we have Paulding's squadron there. Got one there. We got one there. But wait, there's more. We got two out here. Yes, we got Farragut and it's got some ships. And we got that blockading squadron. So New Orleans is pretty well bottled up. I thought about maybe getting another fleet to blockade these ports, but I looked at like how much moves there. And it seems like there's so little, it's probably going to cost way more to get a fleet up there and blocking those ports. Then we're going to stop, and probably best to put the money elsewhere. And this isn't really much of a surprise, but it's a little bit of a surprise. I have 2 river squadrons, and they got several ships, but yeah, they're blocking some of these ports here. So at least the Navy, as far as it can do anything in this game that matters, it's doing that. All right, so overall, I think that can be it for the campaign update. I mean, there is all sorts of stuff here in production, which you're probably not worried that I'm going to start clicking through and trying to do something in detail. I'm not. I still think that so many of these things are so wonky because, right, this is supposed to show the past. Well, we don't need to see the CSA. We want to know the Union. But even then, like, these values don't, they change so little that I don't really know what there is to know here. In trade, I don't know. I guess this is slightly more interesting. It kind of shows us what's been going on in the last 12 months. I guess some of the stuff makes sense. Other parts it doesn't. We have done pretty well when it comes to factories and businesses being created. At least it feels like it has. Yet, according to the last economic report, we still lack food, yet we have an abundance of fish. Like, nobody's been able to figure that one out. We have a lot of uniforms and gunpowder, yet we don't have niter or provisions. Okay, whatever. Corporate production is fine, right? We had 4 companies last month. It's been about 3 or 4 most months. The export volume, I've noticed, this time around has not proceeded like it did in the CSA campaign, where the exports increased dramatically and the imports increased far less dramatically. Here, basically, the spread has been about $12 million between imports and exports. And as exports go up, imports come up along with it. So the trade surplus doesn't really change, even though the volume of trade is increasing. But there's our excellent debt rating and all that other stuff. All right, before I start going on a tangent, going down a rabbit hole, I'm going to wrap this campaign update here. And the future videos should be tactical battles, at least for, I don't know, 6 months or a year.